Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Latched Mama podcast. Melissa here. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, the Latched Mama podcast is a place and a space where we talk about all things having to do with motherhood, especially things that are like the trenchy parts of motherhood, like the day-to-day stuff and the decisions that we all have to make. I am joined today by Lindi, and we are going to talk about water. You're listening to Latched Mama Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Wirt, busy mom of 6 and owner of LatchedMama.com. Join us each week as we talk about pregnancy, breastfeeding, postpartum, and all things motherhood. Hi, friend.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
We're not talking about water, how you can drink it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can drink it. We all should be drinking it. If you are listening right now, go drink some water. We're actually going to talk about water safety today. It's like one of my hot button issues, topics, as everybody at Latched Mama probably knows because I talk about it often. Yeah, it can be a little, we're going to maybe talk about some things that could stir up some anxiety a little bit. So if you're not aware of the dangers of water and small children and you want to remain blissfully unaware, probably not the podcast episode for you. But if you want to learn some tips and some tricks of how to manage kids before they can swim, after they can swim, all that jazz, this is the podcast for you.
Yay.
Hi. Tell me what's going on in your world. Last day of school here for Lindi.
Yes. Pool season is here.
Yeah.
All the pool questions. So
All the pool questions. And we get them in the group a lot too.
Yeah.
We can kind of start with lessons. Do you want to start with lessons?
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, the leading cause of accidental death for children under the age of 4 is drowning. And that looks a lot different different places in terms of, you know, whether it's a child that wanders into a pool, whether it's a child that, you know, you take your eyes off for a second. And it's one of those things that's really not discriminatory. There are a lot of people with a ton of privilege that have lost kids this way simply for having a pool in the backyard or something like that.
And it's not even just big pools. It's inches of water.
Absolutely. So we wanted to talk about a little bit today, how you can lessen the fear. I think everybody like cuts up hot dogs and grapes for the most part, but I don't think people always think about how to keep their kids safe around the pool.
Right.
So what do you guys do? Do you want to talk a little bit about?
I was trying to think back to like when I had one kid, you know, and we would just go in the pool and hold one kid. And then I was pregnant with the second, and he was born in March. And it was all of a sudden kind of like, there's 2 of them and there's one of me. Yeah. And during the summer, and at that time I was staying home. And it's like, well, what do you do? And we had not kind of gotten into any sort of swim lesson type things yet. So the toddler was in like a puddle jumper that fit him pretty snug. And then I had the baby, but I was literally in the water when they were in the water or out, you know, I mean, on them kind of 24/7. But what's interesting, like I grew up as a lifeguard.
Yeah. So did I. Yep.
So that I'm sure that was going to come up. So I remember the amount of kids that I pulled out of the pool because no parent was watching them. Yeah. And repeatedly on like the same day. Yeah. And I'm like, here, I just pulled your child out again. Oh, thanks, whatever. So I was always very like, my kid can't swim. I will be physically in there with them. Yeah.
Which is a lot of hands-on parenting. Yes. But it's like where I have anxiety with the kids who can't swim is the walking to the pool. It is now we're out of the pool. We're packing up to go home. I have multiple kids with me. Some can swim, some can't swim. Normally at home, if I'm like helping somebody tie their shoes or get dressed, I'm going to turn my back to my toddler. Not a big deal. But now I'm turning my back to my toddler and there's a sea of water behind me. So there's moments like that where I still have this thing. So I was a lifeguard too. Was a swim coach in college. Been around water my entire life. I think that's probably why it's kind of one of my things that I have pulled, like you said, pulled kids out of water very fast. For those of you who don't know, drowning is also a very silent thing. It's not what you see in movies or books. It can happen extremely quickly. And normally when a child does lose consciousness or a human loses consciousness in the water, it's done without sound. They go under very, very quickly. float to the bottom. It's not a good thing, and it's not what you expect it to look like. So it can happen very quickly. But for me, when I had kids, and my mother-in-law and my parents who live in Florida, my mother-in-law lives here in Richmond, they both had pools, and I knew a second I had a child that I was going to get them water safe as quickly as possible. So we did a program called ISR, which is Infant Swimming Resource, I believe. It's not gentle. It's probably the least gentle thing I have done as a parent. But it's basically 10 minutes every single day, 5 days a week, for somewhere between 4 to 6 to 8 weeks, where a child learns that if they fall into the water, to right themselves onto their back so they can breathe until safety and help comes. And you can start at like 6 months old. We started with Nathan at a year. So at a year old, if he reached into the water to grab a ball or he fell into the water, he'd go under for a second, he'd come up and he'd float on his back until help arrived. And we tested it, and it was a really, really, really cool thing. It was a lot of money. It was a lot of time. Actually, at the time, there was nobody in Virginia that did it, so I didn't have Latch Mama then. So I flew down to Florida for the 6 weeks and lived with my parents and did that all. And I was pregnant with Alex at the time. We did it with Alex at 6 months old up in Fredericksburg. So I drove an hour a day. So like when I say I have a swim thing and I have like a get my kids water safe thing, it's like it's kind of a really crazy thing in my like mothering brain. So Alex did it at 6 months old. So he could like barely sit up when they torpedoed him to the bottom of the pool. And then he came back up and he just floated on his back like a little turtle. Was the cutest thing ever.
Do you like save videos of? Do you have?
Oh yeah, I have videos of it. I don't post them online because people like to troll my social media a little bit and would probably think it was like child abuse. But by the end, within like the first week, they're not really crying anymore.
Right.
And they're learning how to do things. So that's a great resource. I am also, I have some big thoughts on this. I'm also a little anti the Mommy and Me classes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like swim lessons, if you're not going to do some sort of survival swim lessons before the age of 2.5 to 3, are a little pointless. All you're really going to teach your kids in that time is that water is fun. In my mind, water is not fun. In my mind, water is extremely scary and dangerous. Unless it is, there are some ground rules, and I don't feel like it's really easy to set ground rules with a 2-year-old. Right. So there are 1.5 million Mommy and Me classes, and there are 1.5 million places you can go bond with your child, like gymnastics and things like that.
But not in the pool.
I don't love it. And I watch them, and like I've been to swim, because after ISR, my kids normally go into regular swim lessons before they go to the swim team route. And I watch them. I don't know. I just struggle with it because it literally teaches you, and the same thing with noodles and flotation devices. It teaches you. It doesn't teach you the power of what the water can do.
Yeah, well, I think most of the things you see out there are whether it's the toys, the accessories, is making water fun, because water's fun and it's the summer. But I think if you don't teach that respect that needs to be had towards water, it's very, very dangerous.
A kid who always swims with a noodle, especially at that age that can't really process it with their brain, when they drop that noodle, they don't know what happens in water. They don't understand physics. They don't understand gravity. They don't know they're going to be pulled under. So I think it's a very, very careful line. I feel the same way about puddle jumpers. So Catherine, who is 2 and some change, she failed ISR this year, which I don't know what happened. It was the longest time commitment ever. It was 5 days a week, 4 weeks, whatever. And the teacher finally, who was amazing, there's a program in Richmond here, kind of put her hands up in the air, and she was like, I don't want to keep taking your money because she's not doing what I told her to do. So Catherine is going to be in a puddle jumper all summer.
Yeah.
Which is okay. It's going to make my life easier. Yeah. But that puddle jumper goes on the second I let go of her hand on the pool deck, and it does not come off until like we're in the car.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It goes on before we enter the gates, and it doesn't come on and off until after we exit the gates.
Yeah.
It's just a necessity.
It's like, I remember when Nathan was like that age, 2 or 3, and he pulled away from me in a parking lot and he ran into the street. And it's like, they don't have that safety mechanism in their brains yet to like teach them what's dangerous and to what so it's literally like having just this thing that is so close to something else. They see something shiny, they see a ball, they see something they want in the water.
Right.
They're going to go and they're going to try and get it. They're going to fall. It's a nightmare.
But I do think, and because I've had to make some of those decisions when I had like 7 or 6 kids, like 7 and under, who is very safe in the water and who is not. And if you were not safe in the water, you had a life-saving device on you at all times, because I had an infant at all times, and it just is what it is what it was. Eventually we did get into swim lessons, and my youngest now are in swim lessons. But yeah, that puddle jumper just holds you vertical, which is really is a great, and it served us well. But does it teach you?
No,
it doesn't. It's not teaching at all.
Yeah.
Because you go vertical in the water and anybody's going to sink.
Yeah. And it's kind of one of those things that it was like, moment where I just kind of looked at Eric and Eric looked at me, and I was like, she's in this for the summer. And she's back in lessons now. She's in different lessons. We'll see how she progresses and stuff. But, sometimes you also have to do that too, especially with the ISR program. If those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's like it is a no flotation device program. So it's either yes or no. Like either you do the ISR program and they do not use a flotation device ever all summer, because then you start to untrain them, or you use a flotation device. And I think that with 6 kids, especially with a 6-month-old, or I guess he's 8 months old now, and Catherine, it's easier to put Catherine in a puddle jumper for the summer. But it's just hard because if she doesn't know how to swim yet.
Yeah.
I would hope after that much that she would be able to keep herself alive long enough for somebody to notice that she was somewhere else. But
yeah,
I don't know. So they do eventually get stronger. Like it's almost like potty training too, because we've had this conversation. There's also the option of keeping them in a puddle jumper and waiting until they're ready to learn how to swim, and it can happen in 2 weeks.
Very fast.
If you're looking at like a 4-year-old or somebody who literally is ready to learn how their body works, or you can push it and do it like basically weekly from the age of like 2.5.
And I think that's what happened with the twins, because my 4th wanted swim lessons really badly, like a couple of years ago. She could already swim, but she wanted to work on it. And so I put her in, and I was like, the twins were like maybe 3. And I was like, well, like, let's just try this. Cause like, I'm kind of ready for like everybody to swim. And it was a complete disaster with them. Like absolutely awful.
Cause I think Benjamin was in lessons at the same.
Were they the same?
No. We were at Woodlake then. Yes. But we were in lessons at the same time there too. Yep.
And it was just
and
like,
they were clingy.
I, as a parent, I was like, I can't do this. And we need to be able to go to the pool without them like refusing to go to the pool, regardless of whether they're in or out.
Yep.
So I pulled them out and kept the older one going. But like talking to kind of atmosphere and things like that, there are a lot of options for swim lessons. And I think that just wasn't the right time for us. And it wasn't the right atmosphere. It was a very deep and dark pool. And so we just waited. I just decided, once again, we just went back to the puddle jumper for a season. But then they turned 4. Well, all of a sudden you can kind of stand in the 3 feet, and they started to explore. I was in the water with them, but they started, jump up and down and try the arms and just get a little bit of more of that spatial awareness feeling. And they got really excited about the water. So I was like, okay, like this is where it's going to get close. So, we went right back into preschool in the winter and whatnot. But then that next year I was like, let's try, but we need to try a different pool. So we found another place. And we went from not wanting to put our face in the water ever or blow bubbles. In 8 weeks, we had kids working on some streamlines and swimming 15 feet and things like that. Awesome. And I think it worked for them. Could we have started earlier and had a successful, it could have been successful in another way or another time? Probably. Yeah. But I think that's just kind of worked for us and our crazy 6-kid household and whatnot.
We're seeing a lot of posts in the group. I mean, there's been a few over the last couple of days about how traumatic swim lessons can look at times to parents. And I think it's something to consider, because when my kids talk about like moments that they remember in life, there's this one location here in Richmond. I'm not going to talk about it, but it's like a step between like normal swim lessons and ISR. but it's very, it's a swim program that like progresses you relatively quickly. But like Lindy just said, the environment itself is very, very hard. It is a ton of kids in small little, squared off areas behind glass, away from the parents. It is loud, especially for my like homeschooled kids who aren't normally in really, really large group settings. The boys still talk about it. My boys who swim year round now, who are, great little, strong little swimmers, they still talk about how terrible that place was. And then they look at their younger siblings and they're like, just hope mom doesn't sign you up to go there. Just hope mom doesn't sign you up to go there. And it's so funny because it's so much of it is about environment. So I look at those posts when the moms are like, this is my first kid. I'm at swim lessons. They're crying. What do I do? And my first reaction is get your kid water safe. It doesn't matter that they're crying, whatever, it's fine. But then I also take a step back and I remember the fact that my kids still bring it up at the dinner table at 10 years old and 8 years old now, and wonder if maybe if we had found a different place or slowed down a little bit, or maybe I didn't let my fears become their fears. I don't know, but that's your job as a parent to keep your kids safe. So I don't know what the right answer is there, but there are definitely options, I feel like, around places to, find a different environment. Absolutely. Or an outdoor pool versus an indoor pool, or, dark space. But so do you want to talk swim team really fast? We talked about this a couple episodes ago. I'm also a big swim team pusher because I think summer swim team is literally the most fun thing ever. Not talking like the year-round stuff, because that all has its stuff too. But I don't know. Like, I have so much joy. Like, we're in this place of like evening practices just for today, because public school gets out today and then it switches to morning. But the kids have been practicing. Like, our kids are normally like in the bath by 7:30 at night. So my older three. So I have three on the swim team, and all three are like strong swimmers now, which is the coolest thing ever, to be able to sit on a lawn chair and like not care like where my kid is, and like let them do handstands and flips and do whatever. Like, it is life changing. Like, I don't know if you guys can hear the joy in my voice, but it is so cool. I think it's also because swimming is one of those anxiety things for me. But they are practice from like 6 to 7, and then the pool closes at 8, and so they've been hanging out with their friends until like 7:30, 7:45, which is like really ridiculously late, and like turns our entire life on its head, because the baby's at home and wants to go down, and then you have other two. Like, it's a mess. And when do you eat dinner? I don't know, but it's so much fun because they go to practice, which is not really that hard for them, and they have fun, and they goof around, and they do great, and then they go play with their friends. And then like they've already figured out, like, I think this is going to be our relay for the summer, and we're going to be swimming together on Tuesday nights. Aww. And Nathan last night was like, so when do I eat my cheeseburger? And I'm like, what? And he's like, so we have like a team grill. He's like, when do I get like when is dinner time? And I was like, well, it depends on what events you swim. If you swim I am free and back, then you should probably eat dinner after that, before your relay. And he's like, well, is it going to be dark for my relay? Because they love to swim, because he's 10, so he loves the idea of being there when the lights go down, like the sun goes down and the lights turn on the pool, and it's just like so cool. And I don't know, I remember it as a kid, and it's just I don't know. So it's like a goal, if you do have a community like pool and stuff like that, if you can start lessons early and just keep them going through the process. I don't know.
Yes, this was just our second year doing it.
I was a summer swim team pusher for Lindy a little bit.
Yeah. But I swam summer swim team and I loved it. But I also had so many little kids, and trying to get them to multiple, because it's literally every day for like 8 weeks. Yep. So it is a big commitment. It's not like your 8-week soccer. It's like twice a week or something. It's a lot. And I was a little like, this is too much for us. Like, we can't handle it. I still had like 18-month-old twins, 2-year-old twins. I'm like, what do I do? Like, I got to find a babysitter every time. Anyways. But this is our second year, and really just my bigger ones do it. I've kind of had like, okay, you can do it if you can bike there. But I do have my 8-year-old doing it this year, and it's really cool. Like, my older one, really, I don't know if he's going to do any of it. He is signed up, but he's not. He gets a lot of anxiety over it. He doesn't know if he wants to go, and yada, yada, yada.
It's also a really hard age if you're not like if swimming's not your thing.
He's turning 14, and he's really, most of the swimmers that are that age, he's a good swimmer, but he's like, Mom, I dying. I can't do what they do. And I'm like, well, it's probably really hard cardio. Like, but the more you go, the easier it gets. But he's like, I just don't know. And I'm like, I'm not forcing you. But it is really cool to see my 10-year-old and my 8-year-old daughter. Like, they love it. And they're not swimmers. Like, one rides horses, one dances. Like, and they're loving it. They want to go every time. And this year, I think our team switched it. So for some of those younger groups, they have some of the olders volunteer. So there's somebody in every lane, like walking as they swim and practice. But she's like, I got to use my kickboard today. And it's just,
how many times? Really cool. I'm a big swim team pusher because I think once you reach the point where you can keep yourself alive in the water and like you can get, 15 maybe feet, like, and you don't even get very far from most swim teams, right? The whole, like, you have to swim in 25, I don't know. Here in Virginia, it's not really a thing, or here in Richmond, I don't know. I haven't really done the whole summer swim team circuit around the country. But I have to say, though, like, I love it because if you can find a good swim coach and they go every day for 8 weeks, most likely they're going to be swimming a full length of the pool. Those little ones, those 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds are going to be swimming a full length of the pool by the end. Yeah. I know Jordy, who does our ads. I was a pusher for her too, and she put her kids in it last year.
Loved it. Didn't
and like the first couple of weeks, she's like, "What am I doing? My kids can't swim." She goes, "I feel terrible." But then by the end of the year, she had like strong swimmers who were getting down the pool. I don't know. It's really fun. Yeah, no, she had, I think that they really had fun.
They loved it, I think.
Yeah. The pictures of it were great.
Very sweet.
But yeah, so that's like a good progression. Anything else like in terms of water? So puddle jumpers are good. My mom is a big proponent, because I think this is what I grew up on actual swimmies, because it doesn't make you go vertical. Yeah. So when we go to the beach
just
or
the
we
arm
go to the
ones?
pools, just the arm ones.
We did that. Yep.
Which help you a little bit learn how to float and gives you a little bit less buoyancy.
Well, I think you kind of need to use a little bit more of those arms. With a puddle jumper, literally just just floating.
Yeah. Which is maybe a good progression at that point.
A couple things also popped in my head just with tips. Like, I had a lot of kids on my own. And so when I did have my twins, I mean, back when I had my first 3, like, they didn't have these little portable play yards. I literally would bring a portable. It wasn't like a pack and play, a little portable play yard to the pool.
The one that like folds up.
So
like
not
chair.
Only did they have their little puddle jumper on, but I would go in the water with them. But then my other kids needed something, so it was time to get out, and they went into the play yard with their snack, and it just gave me so much comfort that I could turn around and literally not worry whatsoever. Like, they couldn't get out. They were perfectly safe in there, and I could help my other kids. So really just finding those little things. And same, I mean, this goes to the potty thing, but I'm not taking 6 kids with wet swimsuits to the potty. I literally brought the little potty, and they sat on it behind a bush, and I make no apologies for it, because can you imagine then there's some that are like, well, I don't want to go with you. And I'm like, well, I can't leave you. Like, no, everybody is going to the bathroom with wetsuits and all. And I'm like, I can't do that. So take whatever makes your life easier.
Yeah. Also, girls can pull their suits to the side and pee in a toilet. Don't. Those wet bathing suits are just terrible.
Which is why we do little tankinis, because I am done with the one pieces. Yeah. Unless you're navigating it yourself.
Yeah. Swim diapers, guys, do a good favor to everybody else at the pool. Double up on them,
or put a cover. We would put a tight kind of a cover over it.
Yeah, but the cloth swim diapers are so much better than the ones you buy. Also, if this is your first time parenting, listen. I'm gonna pause here. Just listen. Swim diapers do not hold water, so do not put your swim diaper on your child before you put them in their car seat on the way to the pool, because you will have pee everywhere. So swim diapers, put a normal diaper on, and then if you want to put a swim diaper on top of it, that's fine. The cloth ones you can kind of get away with. Them peeing in them, it's not a huge
deal. Don't wear their regular diaper in the pool, though.
Yeah,
when that thing explodes,
absolutely.
Then you got to take that off.
The regular diaper that's going to get really, really big in the pool. But those disposable swim diapers do not hold water. Okay,
they'll hold everything else.
You can thank me for that later. What else? All the snacks is good.
All the snacks.
Towels.
Yeah.
Sunscreen. What else am I thinking?
I really try to do the sunscreen before we go. Doesn't always happen, but they get so excited, and then I'm trying to wrangle them. And
my favorite beach hack, if you have one that eats sand, is, I don't have it here. It's on my front porch at home. There are sit me up seats that you can get. I think it's like orange and blue and green, and I don't know who makes it. But it has like a tray that like goes around it. Okay. So think of it like as almost like a bumbo, but like has a full tray that can spin on the outside of it that has toys on it. Okay. If you put them in something like that, and it's easy to hose off, if you put them in something like that in the sand, they're up high enough that they probably can't get their hands through the tray thing to get down to the sand, and you have some place to hook onto an umbrella. Literally from that age, like 4 or 5.5 months up through like the fact that they always want to be moving and crawling. So probably like 9 months at that point. That is literally a game changer at the beach, as well as the portable play yard. Yeah. Kiddie pools at the beach too. You can blow those up, fill those up with water, and have your own little like ocean away from the ocean. Yeah.
We did puddle jumpers at the beach, like no questions asked.
Absolutely.
They wouldn't really go in, but just in case.
The ocean is a whole nother thing.
That's a whole nother thing.
Because it tries to eat my children every year.
It even scares me with like the 12 and 13-year-olds who are like
absolutely.
Good swimmers.
It's like, terrifying.
It's really scary. Yeah.
But we still go and we have fun and they make great memories because motherhood's scary sometimes.
Yep.
So yeah, reach out, guys, if you have any questions about water safety, because I feel like I run a nursing wear company and then I'm also like doing my little mission of water safety on the side because it's such an important thing to me. Don't ask me what I carry in my car either about when I go over a bridge. I'm gonna pass my anxiety on to everybody else. Yeah. When you start to like accumulate children, I have a really hard time knowing if my car were to ever run off of a bridge, what order I would get my children out of it. Because like you would have to get them all up out of their car seats, and like how do you do that, and how do you get them to the surface, and who swims where? And I'm just getting like anxious thinking about it.
Do you remember when I was coming back from camping and I texted you? I was like, guess what's in my Amazon cart right now? Yeah. Like what? And I'm like, well, I got 8 flotation devices and one of those things that like breaks the window. Because I drove over like the longest bridge and it kept going and it kept going. And then I'm like driving this massive van and wondering if these pillars are going to hold us. Like,
oh my God.
It was awful.
Oh, it's terrible.
Awful.
And they wonder why we have so much weight on our shoulders as mothers. But anyways, we could talk about that one day too. I really want Fear Factor to come back. Do you remember Fear Factor, the show?
Yeah.
Because they used to have something where they would take the car and they would dump you in the lake and you would have to go in the car and you would have to get yourself out. I just want to practice on myself. Like I want to practice like when the car like comes to like when you can open the door, when you can open the window once the water's in it. I really want to go practice somewhere. So if anybody sets that up ever in the country, I will literally be your first customer.
I just wanted to do where you're driving next to the truck and you got to slam the brakes, slow down, move over, and ramp up into the back of the truck.
Yes.
Like that's what I wanted to do.
I want to just go on. I just want Fear Factor to be, again, because I'll eat the cockroaches. I'll do whatever they say on Fear Factor as long as I can be that person that gets in the car that goes underneath the water that tries to save themselves.
That's
okay. So we're on a tangent, but that's what we do here at Latched
swim
Mama.
Lessons.
All right. So swim lessons. Let us know if you guys have any questions. Reach out in the group. I'm happy to help anybody who has any needs, especially on this topic. Thanks, guys.